Here is the exact same text rewritten as a single continuous paragraph without removing, adding, or changing a single word, only line breaks removed. Men in Black is the slick summer secret hiding in plain sight. Two agents in black suits moving through New York like they already own the truth, while aliens blend into the crowd and the evidence disappears before anyone even knows it was there. A tiny gun that hits like thunder. One neuralyzer flash and the world resets. It is fast, funny, and somehow strangely believable. But underneath that swagger, the movie was one wrong step away from breaking. Early drafts went bigger and darker, like the whole galaxy was already at war and Earth was just another front line. The neuralyzer hits different when you really look at it, less like a flashy shortcut and more like a tool built for a colder system. Then came the near collision with 21 Jump Street, a My 23 idea that could have flipped the whole franchise inside out. These are 15 weird facts about Men in Black, the film that turned paranoia into a punchline and made secrecy feel like power. Number 1. Men in Black isn't held together by aliens or gadgets. It's held together by a relationship that has to feel real in the first 30 seconds. If Agent K and Agent J don't click, the movie doesn't wobble, it dies. So the casting process didn't chase the biggest headline, it chased the cleanest contrast. They went hunting for the anchor first. Agent K needed to feel like the job existed before the audience walked in, the kind of guy who could stare at a miracle and react like it's paperwork. The first call reportedly went to Clint Eastwood. He passed. Then Tommy Lee Jones was offered the role and he nearly passed too. Not because he was too busy, but because he didn't like what he read. He thought the script was thin, unfinished, not yet worthy of the precision the movie needed. What changed his mind wasn't a rewrite on the spot. It was Steven Spielberg, the executive producer, stepping in personally and telling him the script would evolve and tighten. Jones trusted that promise enough to sign on. Only then did they cast the spark. Agent J couldn't be a generic trainee. He had to bring energy, warmth, and speed without turning the movie into a parody. Chris O'Donnell was offered the part and turned it down because playing a wisecracking recruit felt too close to the Robin dynamic he just lived through in Batman Forever. So the search shifted to someone who could be funny and sharp, but still grounded. That's where Will Smith became the solution. Barry Sonnenfeld didn't push for Smith just because Independence Day had made him huge. He pushed because he'd seen 6 Degrees of Separation and recognized something rarer than star power. Smith could pivot comedy to sincerity to danger without breaking the character. That mattered in Men in Black because the jokes only work if the world still feels believable. Then the gamble got tested on set. Sonnenfeld went in nervous about Tommy Lee Jones. Jones had a reputation for being tough, blunt, hard to please. But the moment production started, the reputation didn't match the reality. Jones wasn't chaos, he was exact. Show up prepared, know what you want, and he gives you a clean, focused performance that makes everyone around him sharper. Smith, meanwhile, locked into Sonnenfeld's rhythm so completely that the collaboration started feeling personal. Sonnenfeld even fractured his hand after playfully punching Smith's shoulder in the middle of a heated creative moment, then joked later that this must be what having a brother feels like. It's a ridiculous detail, but it fits because that same brother energy is what the movie runs on. Push, pull, timing, trust. That's why the pairing still works decades later. K doesn't explain, J doesn't shut up. Neither one is trying to steal the scene. The comedy comes from collision, the heart comes from trust, and the chemistry feels engineered instead of accidental. Men in Black wasn't cast like a normal blockbuster. It was built like a partnership you either believe immediately or you never believe at all. Number 2. Men in Black sells you a fantasy. Someone competent is quietly cleaning up the universe before breakfast. But the original idea wasn't a comedy about aliens, it was a nightmare about control. Before it became a summer movie, it was pulled from a 1990 comic series called The Men in Black, created by Lel Cunningham and published by Malibu Comics. And the comic was not built to make you laugh, it was built to make you uneasy. In that version, the job is not just aliens, it is everything paranormal, every hidden thing that could shatter normal life. The organization is less secret agency with jokes and more shadow authority that decides what reality is allowed to be. Memory wipes are still there, but they don't feel like a clean reset button. They feel like a moral weapon. The comic keeps circling one ugly question on purpose. Are these people protecting the public, or are they managing the public? Hollywood took that icy core and flipped it. The film trims the world down to aliens and UFO logic, then turns the dread into rhythm. Instead of horror, you get absurdity. Instead of paranoia, you get workplace comedy. The agents are still cold professionals, but the story frames them as guardians you can root for, not a machine you should fear. The same central idea remains. Knowledge is dangerous, but the movie asks you to relax into it. Wouldn't it be nice if someone had this handled? That is why the franchise feels like it arrived fully formed. It is not inventing the concept, it is softening it until it becomes fun. And the weird part is you can still feel the older, darker DNA underneath the jokes. Every neuralyzer flash is a punchline, but it is also a reminder that someone is editing human lives like paperwork, and nobody gets a vote. Number 3. Most movies stop being rewritten when the cameras stop rolling. This one did the opposite. After production wrapped, the filmmakers looked at what they had and realized the original story was doing too much too fast with too many moving parts for a movie that was supposed to feel clean, quick, and effortless. In the earliest version, Earth was not just in danger, it was basically the meeting point for an intergalactic mess. Two alien races were tangled in a larger conflict, and the tiny galaxy hidden in Orion's collar was not simply a MacGuffin, it was leverage in that war. The movie had to keep explaining politics, motivations, and who was about to attack who, while also trying to land jokes and keep K and J's partnership moving. On paper, it had stakes. On screen, it created drag. Test audiences could follow the comedy, but the mythology started slipping through their fingers. When viewers have to track alien factions and invisible wars, the movie stops feeling like a rocket and starts feeling like homework. And a movie like Men in Black cannot afford homework for even 10 seconds, because the entire tone depends on speed and clarity. So the team made a brutal choice. In post, they deleted the war rewrite. They carved away references to multiple factions and reduced the conflict into something anyone can understand instantly. One bug wants the galaxy for himself, and the consequences land right on Earth, right now. The Archelilians stop being part of a complicated diplomatic equation and become a single clear thread hanging over the story like a timer. The exposition gets trimmed down, the screen graphics get adjusted, even bits of dialogue and subtitles get reshaped so the audience is never forced to think about fleets, treaties, or off-screen battles. And the wild part is how invisible the surgery feels. What's left plays like it was always designed this way. One villain, one object, one deadline. The movie moves so smoothly you don't feel the missing pieces, but they are missing. Men in Black didn't just tighten scenes in the edit, it quietly amputated an entire alien war so the story could stay simple enough to fly. Number 4. After the cut-down war rewrite, the movie still had one last problem sitting at the very end. The story was finally simpler, the stakes were cleaner, and Edgar was a single readable threat, but the original climax still played like an idea, not an explosion. It had too much talking, too much explaining, and not enough of that final crowd-pleasing release a July blockbuster needs when the audience is already halfway out of their seats. So the ending got hit with a late-stage emergency rewrite. Spielberg came in with a practical fix that wasn't about lore or alien politics, it was about instinct. How do you make a monster feel beatable in a way the crowd can understand instantly? You turn Edgar's bug brain into a weakness, then you make Jay weaponize it. The sugar water lure, the cockroach taunt, the kind of simple trigger that plays in 1 second, not 10 lines. Here's the part most people don't realize. That new ending didn't just change the jokes, it changed the effects plan the movie had been built around. Rick Baker's team had already created huge, full-scale Edgar Bug builds designed for weight and presence, the kind of practical creature that dominates a set because it's literally there, towering, breathing, casting shadows. But the revised finale demanded a version of Edgar that could open wider, move faster, swallow K, convulse, and explode in a way those big animatronics couldn't physically pull off without breaking the illusion. So the movie made a choice that was still controversial in that era. It handed the last, most important beats to CGI, not as a garnish, as the finishing move. That's why the finale has this invisible seam. If you watch closely, the film is mostly practical grit. Then, suddenly, the creature's movement turns elastic, more extreme, more unreal, because the script now required an action rhythm that the real build couldn't perform. The audience didn't need to know any of this. They just needed the ending to hit, and it did. But behind the curtain, the secret is sharper. Men in Black didn't just polish its ending late, it rebuilt the finish line so quickly that the movie had to leap from craftsmanship to computation to survive its own new version, and it did it so cleanly most people never noticed the surgery. Number 5. You see the black suit and tie in Men in Black, and your brain treats it like the simplest costume choice on Earth. Clean, classic, done. Except that look was engineered like a weapon. Barry Sonnenfeld and the team knew they were walking into a pop culture minefield because two guys in black suits already